Hey everyone, welcome to Catalyst Energies. My name is Dee. Thank you for joining me. I am so grateful that you are here. So welcome to a Starseed's guide to the United States Pluto Return. So welcome back everyone. If you are a regular viewer, special shout out to the patrons on Subscribestar. The second part of this report is actually going to be exclusively available to you. So if that is something that you feel like you're going to be interested in as we go along through the first part of this report, you can access the ability to subscribe to Catalyst Energies in the description box below. There's a link to Subscribestar. So welcome back everyone. And if you're new here, welcome. You know, you have a lot of content that you can check out before you even make a decision like that. And really this portion that you're seeing here in this recording is an introduction to Pluto. It's really meant to address this idea of like, what does it mean that Pluto, what is the Pluto return? What does that have to do with anything? Why is it significant? Why should I care? So if you don't even have a lot of astrology knowledge or background, but you're interested and you're like, I just want to make sense of this, or why is this important? This video is going to be addressing just some of those major themes. And then the subscriber only version, right? The exclusive content is going to be looking at everybody's natal Pluto, the particular starseed degrees that they correspond to, and how they relate to the current natal Pluto, and how it relates to the, you know, basically the power of transformation that was encoded into the creation of the United States as a sovereign nation, because that's something that this whole conversation we can't get away from, because it is the Pluto return. So people don't really have Pluto returns, right? Pluto doesn't come back to the point where most people, where it was when people are born, but it does represent large populations, large generations of people. So that's what we're going to look at. And at the degree that it's at right now, currently, which is 27 to 28 degrees of Capricorn, Pluto is in what we would call Galactic Degrees. It's related to the Pleiadian starseed markings, and is going to be stationing retrograde between now and July, and is going to move back over the same exact degree and minute that it was at the time of the United States signing of the Declaration of Independence, right? It returns back to this point. So this is just meant to give you an idea of like what Pluto represents in the chart, what Scorpio represents in the chart. How does astrology actually have a function in real life when it comes to understanding the meaning of events that surround us and how we can interact with them, how we can make conscious choices. And Pluto is about power. It's very simple. Pluto is about power, where power comes from. We either extract it, we generate it in our relationships, we generate it with a relationship to life and each other. We generate it in relationship in a business endeavor, right? Pluto is and Scorpio, the realm that Pluto rules in astrology, is about the power dynamics that develop when we do enter into relationship that generates power. So we want to talk about these themes too, but then also look at the chart of the United States as well, understand Pluto as an archetypal figure, just a lot of different points to start weaving together. So let's just get right into it. I'm going to take us out of studio mode here. I hope everyone is doing well. If you also are interested in getting forecasts for your sign, the new moon is coming up on the 2nd of March, and there will be the astrology forecast by sign these videos are available to subscribers as well starting this month. So if you haven't checked out any of the previous ones, they're still all up on YouTube and BitChute. A few of them the last batch is on Odyssey and Rumble, but not beforehand. But these will be to subscribers only at this point too. So that's just more of learning astrology, seeing how the astrology affects your daily life, and the areas of life that are most likely to be impacted by current astrological transits, right? So let's get right into it, guys. We're going to start talking about Pluto. As we see here, this is the glyph, right? This is the symbol that represents Pluto, the planet Pluto, the body Pluto in astrology is this glyph. And you're going to see that it actually is related to the character of Hades in Greek mythology. So there is, there's more than just the planetary designation and how it creates angles that are geometric patterns in relation to us, right? It's Western astrology is very much based off of geometry and mathematics, and is in fixed positions relative to where we are. So it makes it more about, it's very universal consciousness and how it adheres to the properties of mathematics, for instance. But anyway, this is why I like to use Western or tropical astrology. So, but in Greek mythology, as we're going to see, I'm just going to start showing some images here of Pluto or Hades, right? This is a Greek god that ruled the underworld. And if you go into a number of cultures, you'll see different versions of this character. So let me move this over here for a second. So this is pretty tame, but you see Pluto, he's got the three-headed dog Cerberus, and the trident that has two, right? So I don't know what you would call that other than it has, it's two prongs, right? And so you can see kind of the same basic shape here with the staff that Pluto holds, and he has the three-headed dog, right? And Cerberus is the guardian of the underworld, right? But that was Hades' job. And so Hades is one of three brothers, the big three, as they're called in Greek mythology. But first, let's look at there's another characterization, same basic characterization. Notice that he's in this lavender and purple and indigo. That seems to be a consistent color scheme as well. So that's something to pay attention to in terms of Pluto. So there it is. This is a little bit more ferocious, a little bit more, it's got a little bit more texture to it, this particular rendering. But what we want to look at here is the brothers. Oh, wait, that was for my amusement. Hold on. So this is the statuary, right, or sculpture. You have Zeus. You have Pluto with the two-pronged here, and then you have Poseidon or Neptune. These are the big three. And as you may know already, Jupiter and Neptune are both in the sign of Pisces. They both have a dominion over this realm, Poseidon definitely, and then Zeus rules Sagittarius, and he rules Pisces in terms of astrology, so ruling the heaven, but has a lot of dominion, and is in his brother's, territory, his brother's domain in the ocean, so is equally powerful in the realm of Pisces. But then you have Hades, right? And they all had a father who was Kronos or Saturn, right? And they all rebelled and were able to take over, basically, and cast the Titans into whatever hellish realm that they go to, which is I think it's even worse than the underworld, right? So the underworld is the domain of Hades, and so it's where souls go after they die. It's not necessarily meant to be good or bad; it just is. Hades also rules what is under the ground as well, which I thought was really interesting. And these three brothers work together, and so Zeus, ruling the heavens, has this singular staff. Remember, this is Sagittarius, the ninth house. And then again, if you don't have an astrology background, this is okay. This is just, but if you do, then you can be making the connections based on what I'm saying. And then you have Hades or Pluto here with the two-pronged staff. And then, of course, the trident with Poseidon, right? So fire and water and, Sagittarius. And then Pluto rules Scorpio as well. And then you have spirit brought together. So Hades rules the underworld. So Pluto represents death, yes, but really about power, because it's the relationship between us and time, and the relationship between ourselves and life itself that represents the power. And we're going to get into some interesting themes about where power comes from, the concept of sacrifice, where that sacrifice can come from, and we get way more into the specifics of the starseed nature and how it informs the generations of starseeds that were born with Pluto at these particular degrees, and how it makes the connection to now, because where Pluto is now and the fact that it's part of the United States chart at this point in time, and the fact that we're going to pass over this point two more times for sure, really suggests that the ability to extract power, which is what Pluto represents in a natal birth chart, the ability to extract power, the ability to transform, because that's really where transformation and creation comes from, the generation of power, the amplification of power that then gets directed or released, right? This is most naturally expressed in, reproduction and procreation, but you can think about it through any creative process. And money is a big realm when it comes to power. And Scorpio is the power generated, for instance, in investments or in businesses. So it's also the power that's generated in occult ritual or sacrifice or communion, right? Willing sacrifice. So we'll talk about those things too. Where does power come from? Where do we already at a soul level know how to access power? Where are we going? See, these are themes that you can take down to your own chart, and then you can look at them at the larger context of a nation and look at the ability to extract power that was already built into the system. And I think there are some other resources that I'm going to share in terms of videos that I think are great addendums to what I'm talking about that I'll link in the description box below about the debts to the central banks in order to start the United States, the idea that, Freemasonry and secret society aspects were woven into this new Atlantis, what kind of power was traded for a debt, right? These are all ideas that we should be considering as we are talking about the concepts of power, sacrifice, and where power and power dynamics and where our resources are truly generated. And with the South Node in Scorpio right now for the astrology people, then you know that this is at a soul level where we've been, the relationship, the power generated in relationship, that we are being directed and moved in a direction that's having us grow in relation to the inherent value of life. Right? And it's not that the Scorpio realm is necessarily bad or is something that we should push away. It's incredibly powerful. But this is where the spell is in Scorpio, and the way to break the spell is to find our communion with what is inherently already here, right? So that's part of the Pleiadian revival. That's also linked in the description box below if you're not familiar with it. That talks about this time frame as well and all of the connections at a Starseed galactic level. So, and then this picture of the cartoon brothers is just really for my own amusement because it's so dramatic and it's like a modern cartoon rendering of Hades or Pluto, Zeus, and Poseidon. But there's something to the fact that there is three of them, and the fact that the Trinity is, and the 369 is a pretty integral part of understanding the way the universe works vibrationally. And I don't think we've all, some people have it more figured out than others, and we're all trying to figure it out. So let's start looking at the chart of the U.S., and then let's go there because I think that's the best place really to just start. So here we are, is the chart of the U.S. So there's some things that we're going to review that came up a while ago. And if you've been following me for a while, then you already know this. But for people that are just now kind of being like, what is this all about? It's worth reviewing so that you can have a retrospective of how astrology allows us to see all of the potential in the geometric patterns that are made relative to us. Doesn't mean that this Earth is at the center of the universe. It just means that our perspective is usually the center of at least what we think is the center of the universe. So we might as well measure things from there. So what does Pluto return mean? Well, it means, like I said, that Pluto returns, or any of these planets will return back to the place where you're born. So a solar return is your birthday, and it marks the return of the same degree and minute that the sun was at the time you were born. So it's usually the same date for the most part on the actual day you were born, but sometimes it's a day or before or after, because it has to do with when the sun returns to that degree, that zodiacal degree. So the same with Pluto. Pluto is returned to the same degree and minute that it was at the time of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So if you read the chart with a Placidus house system, if you don't know what that is, just go right past it, doesn't matter. But at 5:10 p.m. Eastern Time, Philadelphia, July 4th, 1776. Then this is the chart you're looking at. So a couple things to bring up. Number one, here is the ascendant, right? The baseline personality of anybody's natal chart. So for the U.S., just to familiarize or remind ourselves, this was the degree of the total solar eclipse in December, right? And these themes are still unfolding. Unfolding out through the rest of this eclipse cycle, which officially will end at the end of April into May as we move into the next one, right? So these themes are rippling out in a delayed effect or spiraling out from the eclipse, right? Because it's shadowed. It's not a full, the new moon is literally casting its shadow between us and the sun. So we don't get a full opportunity to set intentions with the new moon or to really have a pure beginning point. So it's unfolding now, and the U.S. has no choice but to purify that which has already been a toxic element at a social meaning level, right? That's what Sagittarius represents, the big picture. So even from the moment that this document was signed, it was already coded that the baseline of the country's personality is always to it would always be to in some way come to terms with and purify that which did not work in the last cycle in order to render something new and also purified, right? This is the idea of alchemy. So remember that the eclipse in December was on this degree. So we're still going through a process that activated the baseline of what this country represents, which is purification in terms of beliefs, right? You can't move forward with something new if there is still impurities in the elements that you're using to establish meaning, whatever that is, right? It could be friction, it could be higher understanding, advanced training. The big picture is what Sagittarius represents. So we're still going through that process. Other things that stand out, we just had a full moon, and the sun was in conjunction with the natal moon of the U.S., but the moon was also in direct conjunction with Black Moon Lilith. So we got some serious, very dark, deep, feminine feeling, ancient self-preservation type of energies going on when it comes again to the United States and what it is here representing. And so this the last full moon that we just had, right before the official Pluto return, right, was also along these very, the ruling body for the United States with the Cancer sun is the moon, right? We are, in fact, really led in terms of expressing ourselves as a nation through our feelings and through our protection and our loyalty and our faithfulness. That's, the moon represents that. And Aquarius, the eagle and Aquarius is a big representation in the United States, right? And specifically the capacity to hold the highest potential of society. It's already built into the way that the soul of the country interacts, right, and feels and adapts to the world around it. It's pretty exciting. So that is also and these are galactic degrees, right? These are, you may not know that. These are galactic degrees, and those who have been along for the ride for a little while with Catalyst Energies, then we do know that, right? That these are galactic degrees. 27 degrees Leo, the Atlantean galactic degree. These are both connected to the Pleiades, both connected to Orion as well. We'll talk about this because the boomers, especially the late boomers, this is the area of their Pluto when they were born is anywhere from Pluto 24 degrees to 30 degrees Leo, 0 degrees Virgo. This is the same area. So we'll make those connections in that particular aspect of the report, the Starseed portion. But again, so just factoring some of this in as we talk about the United States chart, but we see here's Pluto. And Pluto's going to be back at this point at a retrograde in July. And I don't have the dates, and I will, and I'll post them if you need an exact date. But that's kind of the whole reason I don't get too caught up in dates until it gets a little closer and we can start to hone in on what's been happening and make some reasonable forecasts. But it's July and December, so the transiting Pluto is still sitting, it just passed it, right, on the 22nd, the 20th to the 22nd, right? And what happened during that week was a big deal politically, sociopolitically, global politics, right? Russia, Ukraine, a lot of stuff was happening. But specifically what was happening over in Eastern Europe and into Russia was very much connected to this particular. This is the first time it's come back, right? It has come home to roost, right? Pluto has come back to collect the debt. And that's the thing about the 8th house and Scorpio, the realm of Pluto and power, is the debt that is part of the accumulation, or is part of the creation, or the power that's generated in the relationship. And debt is not, it's an exploitation, right? It's an exploitation. It's an unbalanced power dynamic when you have debt, especially debt with interest attached, which is really a sin according to, especially Jesus. I mean, that was a big part of the money changing, going into the temple and flipping all of his shit over. It's like, yeah, doing business in the temple was already just like, what the hell? But then charging interest on changing currencies was where he was like, what in the hell? This is not okay. Anyway, but that's very much an 8th house area, which is Scorpio house ruled by Pluto. Death, sex, and taxes. Okay, so we're talking about power and where we extract power. And in the natal chart, Pluto represents where the soul has already transformed as a result of the power that it has either experienced through exploitation, through communion or cooperation, through death, right? That's the ultimate. Coming to collect its due, right? This is why you got to give money to the ferryman to get over the river Styx, right? There has to be an exchange, because energy or power is not created or destroyed, it's repurposed. And part of what makes this realm so dark, mysterious, evil, people are afraid of it, people turn their head away from it, is because there's no morality at the very bottom here when it comes to an eye for an eye. And even at the most, but there's always a balance, right? And the Reaper always, comes up. And this is why in Greek mythology, Asclepius, or the snake bearer, right? The individual, the snake charmer, or Ophiuchus, this is why they took him out, because he figured out how to heal and raise the dead. And Hades was like, nah, like, I'm going to become irrelevant if I don't have a kingdom to rule. And so they were like, well, we can't have this guy. So whether or not you feel like that was a good thing, a bad thing, a control mechanism, that there is a power dynamic that is built into the system. And this is what Pluto represents. And in terms of the US, at 27 to 28 degrees Capricorn, I mean, you're talking about things like the government as a whole, or the economy as a whole, or the healthcare system as a whole, like our socio-political institutions and as they function as a whole, and specifically in a way where it's functioning so well and it's crafted so it's in such a way that those within it move freely and they don't even realize they're part of a system. But there is still a system. There is still a limitation. There's still something that represents a wall or a boundary. And this is really what Pluto is coming to destroy. And it's I would say, the debt being collected probably by, there's a Hail Mary pass that the founders as secret society Freemasons, for good or for bad, right? Adepts at some sort of process. They wanted to establish New Atlantis, and the sun is conjunct Sirius, okay? You have the Pluto is also, that's pretty obvious, right? Anybody that is involved in the more esoteric secret society, mystery school practices, Sirius is a pretty strong representative. It represents the divine feminine in its power, right? The roots of the plant is Cancer, and the fourth house, ruled by the moon, right? So we have a Cancer sun, you have a moon, moon being the planetary ruler of the US, and you see all of this Cancer. Look at all of the Cancer energy the US has. I could do a whole video about this. So, but the U.S. has already been it's been written into the code that it would come back and collect. Now there's three phases to the Pluto phase of transformation. You need demolition and destruction, you need emptiness or a fallow period, and then you have the rebirth or the transformation, right? And so this is why you see people, or you see content out there on social media, all kinds of content around the rebirth of the United States, right, with this Pluto return. And it's just getting started, right? It's just getting started because Pluto's going to station retrograde. And if you don't know what that means, it means that we are in relation to Pluto, right? It's elliptic around the sun, right? It's it's ellipse orbit, or its path around the sun. Related to us, it's going to look like it's moving backwards, and it's an illusion, right? It has to do with relative time and speed of each of us in our orbits around the sun. And so every year they get to a point where it looks like Pluto's actually moving backwards, and it's not moving backwards. We're just moving faster past it. But during that time, our perception of power, it becomes internalized. This is the fallow period. It's first there's this act of destruction, and then there is this fallow period, this contraction. And this is once Pluto stations retrograde. Right now, it's still moving direct. We're still going through like a destructive type of phase here. The demolition is happening. The veil is being dropped as a result. And soon there will just be the charred, empty battlefield in some ways. And it's during that time where we're really going to get an opportunity to really address each of us in our own way. And when you understand and you're living your astrology chart and your starseed connections, then it can be a very rich experience, very textured in your life experience. We're all going to be pulled, I think, inward about, where is the power, right? This is the power of the U.S. as a nation, is that it's already at a soul level, which I would say is pretty obviously the Atlantean signature, whether it's an archetypal creation of our own psyche collectively, or it was a real civilization. It doesn't matter. It's still absolutely imprinted energetically on the United States by the founders who believed it to be New Atlantis. In fact, this is the South Node, anyway, is a big part of this. So it's coming back around. Do we have the inner stability? All this Cancer energy, right? Do we have the inner stability and a sense of permanence within our authenticity and our sovereign nature to withstand the timed and scheduled destruction of our very institutions in order to create the space for a rebirth, right? We've already come out of the egg. That was Atlantis, right? This is the South Node in Aquarius here. And we've already gone through a destruction at some level in our genetic and energetic memory as a country and as starseeds, and many individuals, right, have very clear Atlantean or pre-diluvian memories, either through dreams or regression, or they just know it, right? And this whole country has this imprint based on the signing of the document that said, you know what, we're going for it. We're going to do this again, and we're going to try. and it's been up for, sabotaged from minute one, right? But we won't give up, and it's not easy, but we have all of this Cancerian energy to assist us in the stabilization in terms of our loyalty or faithfulness to each other, right? To our bonds, to our traditions, to our families, right? To what matters, in order to withstand what is already written in. So, but you notice here that it's retrograde. That means that it's really going to reach its depth in July, when Pluto is retrograde and hits 27 degrees and 33 minutes. Okay. So we're going, and then it'll come back out again into the rebirth after July. So you're looking like July, July through the summer into the fall of 2022 is where the real power is going to start being extracted in order to rebirth, recreate. But we're not there yet. We're only at the tip here, and there's something. It's what's happening over Eastern Europe, Ukraine, Russia, that whole NATO, right? All the geopolitical stuff, regardless if it's a show or not, doesn't matter. What it's saying is that that's the beginning of this incredibly destructive moment for the American experiment, and if we can withstand it or not. And I think we can. I mean, we have all the other aspects that are part of it as well. But the thing is that, again, Atlantis, whether or not you want to use it as an archetypal structure for the human psyche to evolve, just like the Starseed nature, or you can feel like the timeline imposition or transposition, right? Or that has been part of, we've actually had very civilized societies in the past that Atlantis is the representation of, and it did exist, and we have genetic memory. However you want to look at it, it's imprinted into the United States and what we're doing here. So I do feel like that we have the potential, and in fact we really will succeed in terms of our ability to generate power by being able to consolidate power into the areas that will protect us from the storm, right? I mean, it's written in right here, 26 to 27 degrees of Cancer, exactly opposite of Pluto, right? And what is this? Part of fortune. This is in your natal chart where you will find your success, the area in which you will realize your fortune or your success. That is your part of fortune. The opposite of this, right? Being able to withstand the storm. And the storm is very much in a very physical part of the United States chart, the second house. The very nature of resources. And I mean, this is the debt of the central bank coming to collect, and we're all living through that. And I think that the amount of power that is generated from here and where it can propel us into as a nation and as individuals on this planet is incredible if, in fact, we see it for that. And so this is why going into the Starseed portion is going to be really important. So if you're interested in that, or and you're ready to make the commitment to the subscription, you can just link in the description box below, and it's all there for you. If not, it's not going anywhere. If you decide later you're going to subscribe and you're like, I'm kind of curious about that now, because we have till next, Pluto Return. Like I said, it's going to be until 2023 that Pluto is dancing and basically moving back and forth over this point. Just I don't know if you want to. It's like a roller coaster or some other destructive force, but the destructive force is still happening, and it's once it stations retrograde that we're going to start seeing the fallow period, which is in some ways worse than the destruction, right? Because then it's when things get really dark. And so I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. I'm telling you just what Pluto is doing and how we as astrologers and readers interpret, all of these different symbols and weave them into a narrative. And isn't it just about the narrative? So you might as well take the narrative that is based on sacred geometry and the cosmic time clock that is put here by the creator and see what it brings up for you. I mean, it's all different for everybody. We all have our own language with God. So this just happens to be mine. One of them, at least. So you can check out, like I said, everything's in the description box below. There is an astrology summit that is free. That is also, here, I'll show you a flyer really quickly if you want to see it. It's about bridging sky and earth and embodying your star wisdom. I am talking about the Starseed as the living bridge. So that's March through 10th. You can go in the description box and get access to the website. It's free. There's like 3,000 people already signed up. There's 30 speakers. I think it's going to be really, really great. I'm excited to have been part of it. So that's that. And yeah, if you want to book a reading, if you want to schedule some energy work for yourself in order to get a tune-up. If you want to join us on Telegram and get some other good resources for all kinds of stuff and a great chat, you can get all of this stuff in the description box below. So I thank you so much for your attention and your time. I love you guys. Thank you for being here. I truly appreciate each and every one of you. I'm going to give you some information here at the end if you are interested in anything else. So in the meantime, I will see you guys later. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you I'll see you on Tuesday for the daily medicine transition. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you later. Bye.